Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. We all know that Z-Image Turbo generates great quality images, but it has a huge downside. The generated images look very similar. They tend to have the same styles and the same faces. Even the compositions look almost the same. In my last video, I talked about the best samplers and schedulers for Z-Image Turbo. Some combinations do help a little with variation, but honestly, the styles and the faces usually stay the same. Many people in the community have tried different ways to fix this. For example, let's look at this one workflow I found. It can really improve variation. It uses two advanced Ksamplers. The first Ksampler handles the noise reduction for the first sampling step. The CFG is set below 1. This means the prompt cannot fully control that first step. This adds some randomness right at the start. You can preview the output of that first sampler right here. Our prompt described a woman playing an acoustic guitar on a beach. We asked for a dramatic golden sunset and ocean waves, but look at the results. There are many elements here that do not follow the prompt at all. There are modern buildings and a park path. There is even a woman in yoga clothes roller skating. Not sticking to the prompt in the first step is actually a good thing here. The lack of variety in Z-Image Turbo happens because the first step decides too much of the image content. Even with different seeds, the results end up looking too similar. To fix this, some workflows try to increase variation during that initial state. For example, this workflow introduces a lot of unrelated elements right from the start, but there are some downsides to this approach. When you bring elements that have nothing to do with the prompt, they might stay in the final image. Let's check the outputs of this workflow. Do you see this? This background shows buildings, not a beach. There are also weird noise dots on her skin. This background looks like a park. There are also artifacts on her legs. Now let's look at another workflow. It uses a node called SeedVarianceEnhancer to help with variation. You cannot find it on Running Hub yet because it is pretty new. However, you can find it in a Ksampler manager and install it from there. By the way, Running Hub is a Ksampler cloud platform I use often. If you want to know more, you can find the link in the video description. This workflow works similarly to the last one. Both add randomness during the first sampling step. Basically, they inject actual noise into the original latent space. But this workflow only injects noise that is more related to the prompt. This way, the output images do not have random elements that don't fit the prompt. However, the variation is still not big enough. The faces, hairstyles, and the lightings are still very similar. Many images also have similar clothing styles. Now let me introduce a workflow that I built. This one really improves the variation for Z-Image Turbo. Let's check out the final images. They have different faces and hairstyles. The clothing and the poses are different too. We even get different camera angles. I actually used the power of the Flux Chanel model to improve the variation. This model is also free to use commercially. The GGF version is actually very lightweight. It is only about 6 GB. It only takes 4 sampling steps to generate an image. I generated 8 images in a batch, and it only took 49 seconds. The best thing is that it can share the latent space with Z-Image Turbo. The latent image size in the first group is 768 by 1024. In the second group, I use an upscaling node to increase the size of the latent image from the first group. So the final image size will be 5036 by 2048. Basically, Z-Image Turbo performed an image-to-image repaint in this process. If we compare the outputs from this group with the first group, you will see they are similar. But Z-Image definitely improved the quality. If we want the images to look more distinct from the first group, we can increase the denoising strength here. I have one more thing to mention. In my last video, I tested all the settings with 9 sampling steps. But if you use samplers like DPM++ SDE, you can actually just set the steps to 5. I also recommend the REST2S sampler. You can set the steps to 5 for that one as well. Let's go back to group 1. I want to talk a bit more about the settings in this group. I recommend the DPM++ SDE sampler here. Compared to other samplers, it can improve variation. I also suggest setting the scheduler to linear quadratic. This can help fix extra fingers or limbs in some situations. Alright, that is all for today. If you'd like to download this workflow, please consider joining our community and support the channel. You will find the link to it in the video description below. Thanks for watching.